Hi there. Have you been a little bored listening to some of those podcasts lately?
Listen, I hope you're not in the car right now with some kids. Because I'm about to drop some F-bombs. This ain't your average fucking podcast.
Looking up music. We like this style.
It's kind of one of those things. It's like the duck. You know, you see a duck in the water, right? The duck looks like it's cool, but the duck's freaking working hard under the water. Wow, working hard. That's how our place is. We look cool, but we're working hard.
Welcome. You are now listening to the Duck Legs Podcast. We are physical therapy students here trying to bring you raw, honest, and ultimately funny material while we interview the experts of our field.
I was brought up listening to Smodcast, Kevin Smith, and Nerdist, man. I was brought up listening to comedy podcasts. So when we were thinking about making a physical therapy podcast, I was like, we're going to make a comedy podcast that happens to talk about physical therapy.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Duck Legs. If you're on Facebook, check out our new group, the Duck Legs Podcast After Show Party. You can search for that group on Facebook or it's linked to our page. Basically, we're going to try to have some of you, the listeners, try to get on our show. We'll host you on the show. You can serve as a co-host or guest if you want. We'll try to make this some kind of networking opportunity and give more people a voice, especially give more students a voice, and possibly hook up some students with some guests that they'd like to interview, maybe in their niche or field that they'd like to learn more about.
All right. Well, today on the Duck Legs Podcast, we have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Monique Caruth. She is a physical therapist based out of the DC area. We're just having a conversation before we hit record about her time and her practice, specializing in home health and spending some time there. So let's just pick up on that conversation. I am brought to you with my co-host, Jared.
Hey.
And, we're just going to have a good time today. So,
awesome.
Thank you for coming on to the show. Yep. So before we hit record, you're talking a little bit about your practice. I know we want to spend some time on there, but before we start that, do you mind just giving a little bit of your background? I know that we also have an intro where we give your background as well, but just giving a little bit of your background, why you became a physical therapist, and sort of kind of what you're doing today.
All right, no problem. Well, I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. That's in the Caribbean. So for those of you who might be confused as to the geographic location, we are just above South America. So we're very close to Venezuela, and we're the two most southern islands in the Caribbean on the archipelago. I, around the age of 13, while watching a cricket match, saw a physiotherapist working with an athlete that was injured. And I was watching the game with my parents, my mom and my dad and my siblings. I have two younger sisters. And I just blurted out, well, that's what I'm going to be. And my parents looked at me like I was crazy, because for most Caribbean parents and African parents, their dream is for their kids to become doctors and lawyers or engineers. Those are the only three professions that are acceptable for Caribbean parents. So they were confused. Like, why would she want to do this and what is this about? But it was something that I knew I wanted to do, even though it was not popular back in my country. So our schooling is that we start high school around 11 years of age. We take an exam 5 years later that allows you to either do an additional 2 years, which will be equivalent to like your freshman or sophomore year of college here in the U.S. So I chose my subjects based on knowing that I wanted to get into physical therapy. I did the SATs. I also played soccer, so I was awarded a soccer scholarship to travel to the U.S. to play for Campbell University in North Carolina. So that paid for my college tuition then. I spent 2 years at Campbell, and my focus was on exercise science and kinesiology. I got very homesick in North Carolina.
North
So I
Carolina's a little bit
transferred.
different, I bet.
Yeah, it was very different. But I still loved the campus. It was very quiet. The people were friendly, so I enjoyed it. And then I transferred to Howard University in Washington, D.C. There I had an academic scholarship, which also paid for my tuition. So my parents or myself, we didn't have to come out of pocket with much to cover tuition per se. And my focus there was health science, knowing that after I finished my undergrad degree, I would be going to Howard to pursue my physical therapy degree. At the time, we were only a master's program, so I obtained my master's from Howard. And after I completed that, I worked in an outpatient clinic that was owned by a group of doctors. So I was basically concentrating on orthopedic cases and sports. I worked there for about 5 years. While working there, a lot of clients kept telling me that I didn't really belong there and I should start looking into doing my own thing and, that sort of stuff. But I was scared. Having conversations with, my friends, I'll be like, I'm sure it takes a whole lot to start a business, to be out on your own. And I'm like, you know what? I'm Black, I'm female, and I'm an immigrant. That's already like 3 strikes against me. So it was a very challenging process. Like I questioned it, like, am I going to be any good being out on my own? Will people come to me? That sort of stuff. And the pay was great at the facility where I was at. I was always getting a lot of patients. Since I was with a group of orthopedic surgeons, I had the opportunity to be in surgeries and see how surgeries are done. I got to learn a lot from them because they would explain stuff to me. A few of them would listen to me and take my advice on how to go with things. So it was a really good relationship and mentoring process. But I kept questioning, whether I should be stepping out on my own. So what I started doing is doing home health part-time or PRN. And I started to like it. And the more I started building up clients, I realized I had to cut back with my full-time job. And then I got word from Howard that they were now doing a doctoral program, and students who were graduated in my year were welcome to come back to complete it to get their doctorate. And I said, perfect. So I went back to Howard and completed the doctoral program. And during that time, I took the very bold step of getting out on my own. So I teamed up with a nurse who was a good friend of mine, and we worked doing Earth Angels Inc., which was a home health company. We took private insurances. So I basically covered 5 counties in Maryland. So I did a lot of driving. In 3 or 4 years, I accumulated almost 175,000 miles.
Yeah. Yes.
So that was a lot of work. But the thing so happened that I realized that even though I was out on my own with someone, it was the passion for physical therapy. It wasn't supposed to be shared with another clinician. I had to really do my own thing. So I decided that, you know what, it's your calling to just be out on your own. So that's when I started Dr. Monique J. Caruth, LLC. So that's where I've been. So now what I basically do, I contract to home health agencies, and I also do Medicare Part B, seeing patients at their homes or at the gyms or at their work. So that's basically what my business is about.
That's awesome. Just a quick follow-up. What car were you driving that you could accumulate that many miles and not have any car issues?
Well, fortunately for me, I got at the time, I was able to afford a brand new 2012 Honda Pilot. When I started home health, I, like most, kids, when you graduate and you're in a nice job, the job that I was in, as I said, it paid well. I got a bonus depending on how much I brought in. So I had a BMW 325 and I had a Z4 as well. And I realized using luxury vehicles to do home health is a no-no. So I'm advising any new grads, if you like luxury vehicles and you want to do home health, get a cheap car to do home health, because the miles you'll put on that and then to have to pay for the most expensive gas to put into your car, it's gonna come back to bite you. So what I did was I sold those two vehicles and I bought a Honda Pilot, a brand new Honda Pilot. So I never missed any issues with the maintenance checks or anything like that. But seeing that I was accumulating so many miles, I decided that, I probably needed to get just one vehicle for home health specifically and one for just my personal time. So that's what I ended up doing.
Your business and your pleasure vehicles.
Yes. Yes, basically, I had to do that.
Yeah, and somehow I knew that you were going to say a Honda something. Those cars are just amazing when it comes to driving all the time. It's they're great on gas. And,
reliable.
Yeah.
Reliable. So.
We need to get Dr. Monique a sponsorship with Honda or something.
That is true.
Well, maybe they will give me one. Who knows?
There you go.
So we'll see what happens.
I can't think of a better spokesperson, than a home health businesswoman.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's definitely true.
I agree.
There's so much in Dr. Monique's backstory that's so unique and that I think we could just spend hours talking about. One of the many things that stood out to me was, you being a Black woman therapist and business owner, taking it back from even when you were a kid watching that soccer or that cricket game on television. Yeah. And your first battle was trying to convince your own parents that you wanted to be a physio. And
hey, they're the toughest ones to sell.
How was that? How was that battle?
Well, when I finally graduated with my doctoral degree, I said to my dad, who was there at the graduation, well, hey, you finally got a doctorate, so you can, right? So,
he was still holding on.
But the good thing about my parents, they're extremely supportive. I can't thank them enough for all the sacrifices they have made. So no matter what, they always told me, they were proud of me and to keep pursuing my dreams, even though they didn't understand, basically what, a physical therapist does. But over the years, they have seen me at work and seen some of the stuff that I've done, and they themselves have gotten to appreciate the profession more. And I like it when I see a lot of younger people, especially from my home country, getting into the field more and more. So that's good that it's reaching a larger group of people.
Yes. Hopefully more diverse group of people too.
Yes, it is. Yeah. So.
Man, another thing, I was waiting to see if Damir had something too, because I can keep talking for a long time. I don't want to hog the mic. Another thing that we brought up, again, being a black woman business owner. You're the first Black woman interviewee that we've had on. And so I know you can speak to a bunch of unique issues that me as a man and all of our other guests that have we had a Black guest? No, we've had Greg Todd. Greg Todd was our first guest.
He's male. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other guests haven't been as culturally diverse, maybe. But what challenges have you faced? First of all, being an immigrant too, coming to the country to the USA, and then starting off as a home health physical therapist, being a Black woman trying to venture off and start your own business as an entrepreneur.
Well, I have to give credit that America is indeed the land of opportunities. I can't say that enough because I know, being my age, in my 30s, and a lot of people will probably be like, "Oh no, you're not ready. It's not your time yet." That sort of stuff. You hear that from people. Like when I was first starting, I would hear that from people as well. Going into homes, especially, as I said, I covered like 5 counties in Maryland. So depending on the geographic location, you get questioned a lot, even though you are qualified, meaning that you have a degree. You've gone through at least 7 years of schooling. You've been working, you're trained in your field, and you know that you're good. But some people would ask or be like, "Are you sure you know what you're doing?" Or "Where did you go to school?" Or etc. So those are some of the challenges that you face, especially being a minority business owner. Being female, I think a lot of guys don't take female owners seriously. A lot of guys think females are emotional. Sometimes we can be, but I think it could be to our advantage, especially in home health, because we can be a bit more empathetic with our clients and address their concerns a little bit better. I think I might be biased with that. So, in terms of getting respect, my philosophy is respect is earned. So as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I am good and work speaks for itself and people get to recognize that, then I'm all good. So I try not to worry about, how other clinicians per se would view me. My biggest thing is to making sure that any client that I come in contact with has achieved the goals that they wanted to achieve when I first met them.
Awesome.
Yeah. And,
all about the results.
Yeah.
It's all about the results.
You got to show up, show out.
Yep. Yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, that's true. So, so just to stay on the subject, just a little bit more, and for those listeners that may not know this, Jared and I are Black, so we really want to continue to just really hone in on this subject. And
that would be funny if some people didn't figure that out by now.
Right. Yeah, like what? Wait a minute, what? It's almost like a Dave Chappelle episode. I know you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I love Dave Chappelle.
Yes, he took it off, and they just he took that mask off, and they could not believe it.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to stay on this this subject, how have you felt the field is changing, or if it's changing in the way that diversity is being pushed? I know it has become one of the I guess missions of the APTA, and obviously we're starting to see, and I'm starting to see more Black individuals or just minorities get into the field where that may not have been the case in the past. Do you see that land shift? I know that you said you went to Howard, which is a HBCU, so I'm sure the majority of your class, if not all of them, were minorities or black or whatever. So do you see that shift in the profession, or is it still the same as it has been when you graduated?
Well, I'm going to share a joke with you guys. All right. As you said, I went to Howard University, which is an HBCU. And yes, a lot of my classmates were black or immigrants. We had a couple standouts. Alex Sekrin, he's Russian. And we had, he's practicing in New York. But yes, he was the minority. So being at Howard and being in the Washington, D.C. area, it really skewed my idea of therapist, because the therapists that I saw or the people that were mentoring me were all black. So at my first APTA function, when I went and I saw all these white people, I was like, what the heck? So I was like, am I in the right area? So then I started to ask questions and do some research, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the therapy field is predominantly white female.
Yep.
But being at Howard, it made me so, being a days that I was like, wow, we had so many. So that's when I started taking, even though I was an APTA member as a student, it made me start looking into past presidents and stuff like that. I see some changes. I see more African Americans and even immigrants getting more involved in the APTA sections, being representing certain sections, trying to be chairs. And I'm also seeing more and more stepping into the role as owners and even mentors, like what Greg Todd is doing. I think it's awesome. With his SSPT program. So it's good to see that. I'm not sure, I see the women in PT with Karen Litzy and Sandy Hilton, and those trying to make sure that the women get recognition in the PT field. Because predominantly as owners, it's been traditionally more the Caucasian male owners that get the recognition or positions of leadership. And how should I put it without sounding, a little bit...
that's okay. You're in a safe space here.
Offensive. Usually it goes okay, white male, then it's white female, then it's I think a black female tends to get more of an edge than a black male. So that's how it goes in terms of recognition and appreciation. So that's just my view. But I'm seeing a lot more minorities getting involved in the organization and even becoming members, and that's awesome that we are invited to do more stuff. What blew me away in Anaheim when I went to CSM was that Sharon Dunn, she took the time to at least attend every section event. So I was a bit shocked when she showed up to the African American PT get-together that we had, and she took photos and spoke with a lot of us as well too. So, and she wants to make it important to make sure that we are involved and, present.
Right.
Very
with
cool.
any decision or stuff that they have to make.
Very cool.
Yeah, just spending some time with her when I went to NSC last year. She's a very, conscious woman when it comes to a lot of things in this field, to student debt, to, like you said, the minorities, diversity. So she's a very conscious woman, and she speaks openly about those needs to increase diversity and talk about student debt and those things that may be gray area, that may be past presidents, which I'm not sure, or just the way that, politics, work may not be necessarily on the forefront, but she speaks openly about them. And I'm glad to hear that story about her showing up to the African American get together. So
yes, a lot of us appreciated it because past presidents have not been so present.
Okay.
That's it,
Okay. Yeah.
And as I said, it's a good thing that, she has done that, because when you're spending as owners, you're already investing a lot of money to better yourself, to be a better clinician, and also to improve your practice. So spending money and to be an APTM member, you want to feel included. You want to know that your concerns are being addressed. So her showing up to events like those and reaching out to us, it shows that she really is genuinely concerned about everybody's interest, not just outpatient private practice owners or just women's health, everyone in general. So.
Yeah, which is great to hear from your leader. Not to definitely want to hear they're supporting you, so that's always good. So just talk about practice leadership or practice ownership again. What is your day-to-day? Because you hear a lot of times, and I know this is very appealing to me and Jared, that you get to have, more freedom. Of course, you're making the rules, you set the policies, you set the standard. So what is your day-to-day? And then what is sort of your plan in the future to increase your practice or to advance it?
I definitely do have more freedom. I don't want to make everyone feel like being a business owner is all, bed of roses. There are trying times. There are moments when you will doubt yourself, question if you made the right decision. Because in healthcare, especially home health, you have highs and lows. When your census is like really high, when the census is low, and you wonder like, oh my gosh, am I gonna break even or make enough to pay my mortgage or pay my car note and all those expenses. Mm-hmm. So you do have concerns like that at times, but I have definitely had more freedom in terms of being able to go back home when my parents and my siblings are and visit more often. My aim is within the next 5 years to start weaning myself off of direct practice and concentrate more on educating and have therapists work for me, running the business while I do other stuff. So,
cool.
Question is that open invitation to Jared to move to DC?
I'll take it.
Hey, yeah. It's a great place to be. So yes, he can come.
I've done 7 weeks of home health internship. I know what it's like. I know.
Yes.
I know what driving 70 miles per hour on the interstate, trying to go from 2 different cities while eating a Subway and sandwich in your lap while taking notes on an iPad.
Eating a full meal. Imagine eating a full meal.
We talked about this earlier in another podcast after I finished my internship, but that home health, you definitely have to have a certain personality to put up with the crazy schedule. People because you could have somebody in two different counties of Maryland, and you had your day planned out perfect, and then one person cancels, and now all of a sudden you have a huge gap, in your time slot. And then, fitting in the food, you have to eat somewhere and use the bathroom somewhere in there too. I thought what was funny is you kind of get a feeling of which bathrooms you want to use, whether it's in a patient's home or in in a certain restaurant nearby. So it's a wild life. It's like the Wild West out there.
Well, sometimes I feel guilty if I stop at like a fast food place and I just go there to use the bathroom, and a lot of them are familiar with me depending on the area that I go. So I try to at least make a purchase of like a bottle of water, like a snack wrap, so they don't be like, yeah, she comes in here every time to use the bathroom. Sometimes you'll go somewhere and there's a certain bathroom for customers only, and you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah, that bathroom guilt is a real thing.
Yeah, so you have to, you have to plan your day out. And you're a guy. So imagine, like, as a female, and I don't want to get all technical here, but, there are certain times of the month you have to, do certain things. So you have to make sure you plan your route well so you can make sure you smell fresh and stay fresh.
Hey,
it's a lot of planning.
I can't even imagine. Because especially just, not to make fun of people, but there are some patients' homes where they don't take the best care of it, and they might have a little hoarding thing going on. And sometimes you just got to go. And luckily for me, I can stand or hold it. But
Yep, I've seen those. I think my worst situation was that after being in one, I was even afraid to sit in my own car. So I was walking around wondering, like, do I walk to like a restroom? And what I always do is keep a extra pair of scrubs in my car, or some shorts or a t-shirt or something. I have like wipes, Febreze, because sometimes you may go into a home where someone smokes, and depending on what they're smoking, you might come out smelling like it, and people might be thinking that you are high on marijuana or smoking cigarettes, so you don't want to take that to the other patient. So I have those things in my car just in order to make sure that the other patient is not affected by smell, because some people are allergic to certain things, so you don't want to take that out with you.
That was not to stay too much on this topic, because I want to get more into you and your story, but that was one of the hardest things for me on the internship was going into somebody's home that is a smoker and having to still provide them quality care and care about them and treat them to the fullest extent, but also having that in the back of your mind is like, I don't want to breathe in this secondhand smoke, and just waiting to get out there as soon as possible.
Yeah, it happens. Like I usually will tell them that it may trigger my allergies. I just say that to be polite, because if I call for ask them to crack a window or ask them, let's go outside or something like that, I just say that ahead of time so they have an idea that, this might be a little bit suffocating for me. So your body language says a lot. So I try, even though a home may be really untidy or, filthy, you don't want them to feel like, you're better than them.
Yeah,
right.
There are some people that would interpret that. So it's just nice. You just be nice, be polite. I've been in situations where the persons with the filthiest houses are the ones offering you a drink or something to eat, or telling you to have a seat. And you're like, no, I've been sitting for a while driving here. I just drove, so I'll stand up, let me stretch my legs and walk around. Or no, it's a policy that I don't accept anything from, clients. So just to make sure that they don't feel bad. Or I will take in a bottle of water and say, "Oh, I already have one," so I'll keep it at the side of my bag. So it's there.
The best thing we can do is not just enter somebody's home for the first time and go, "Ew, oh no,
no."
Or like your eyes open up wide. Oh no.
No, you don't want to do that. All right, because you want to give the impression that, as you know, a lot of people are in situations where they seem like hopeless, and you don't want to add to that by thinking that you're judging them. So you don't want to give that impression. So
yes,
as much as possible, just smile and be like, "Oh, just picture the house as the best house you've been in."
yeah."
But don't put yourself in harm's way. That's all.
Poker face.
So if it's really bad, it's really bad. Just stay out of it.
And that's such a crucial part of building that patient rapport, especially in home health, because you are actually in the person's home. You're in their world, and you gotta continue to build that therapeutic alliance, right?
Yep, you have to. And if you want them to listen to you and buy into you, they have to be able to trust you from the get-go. And if you go in there with an attitude like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to be here," then, that's already setting things off,
Yeah.
in the wrong way. So don't want to do that at all.
So part one, we discussed, about education a little bit and about different topics, but I just want to stick to the education component. Please give me, in the best way possible, a virtual hand slap for not taking an interview with Howard because DPT, because I was just, okay, see, so let me explain what happened.
Uh-huh.
So I applied for Howard DPT because Howard is like the Ivy League school of HBCUs.
HBCUs.
Yeah, so it's
I'm
Ivy
glad you
League.
recognize that. Yay.
Yeah, it is. It really is on the level of Yale and all those places, Harvard, so on and so forth. So anyway, so I said, of course I'm going to apply there. So I actually get it. But at this time, it's like in March, I am already planning out how I was going to go to DPT school. I had already got accepted to a few schools, made my choice, all this good stuff. So they actually say, "Hey, Daimir, you get an interview with us." So I'm excited, but the date that they set, I actually can't go down there. So which I figured out, and they actually offer like Skype interviews and stuff like that. So,
okay.
So they are really accommodating. So not only do they have a on-site interview, they also have Skype interviews. So what happened is that I set up the Skype interview. They set it for one date. I put it in my calendar for another day.
Oh no.
Oh man.
I am telling you. I put it in for another day, like the day after. So, and I'm diligent with checking my emails at 6 o'clock in the morning when I wake up and at around like 10 o'clock at night. So, but during the day, I'm so busy. I was an RA. I was working full time. I think I still had one class at that time. It's in the middle of March. So I'm running around doing all kinds of stuff. So they send me like literally like 3 or 4 emails that day, basically saying, "Hey, your interview is at this time. We're 30 minutes out, your interview is current, and what happened to you?" So I'm so embarrassed, and I'm just so like, there's no way they're going to allow me to get in. I don't even reschedule an interview, and I pray that whomever had my name, because, my name is kind of, it's kind of not common. So I'm like, I pray whoever has my name doesn't like see me one day and be like, "You're supposed to interview with us. What happened to you?" So that is how I did not get it, because every interview I've ever like taken, I've accepted or got the job or whatever. So I said, the chances of me getting in is fairly high if I take this interview in person or on Skype. So that is how I am not at Howard, which, I still had to make a decision and who if what I would have picked. But please give me a virtual, slap on the head or a hand slap, because I did not.
Well,
Yeah.
I always say, everything happens for a reason, and my mom has always told me that every disappointment is for your own good.
Yep.
So as great a school as Howard was, and I'm sure if it was Dr. Green, who's the chairperson that had your name, she's a very forgiving person. Trust me, I've had my share of screw ups at Howard. I've butted heads with a lot of professors. Mainly Dr. Carol Burnett, my neuro professor.
Okay. You'll definitely hear this.
But upon graduating, I realized, they said they realized potential in people, so they push and they nag and they push and they nag. I just thought that it was getting a little bit overboard. With the amount of nagging I was getting. But I realize now, being in the position I'm in, how thankful I should have been that they kept pushing me. So one of the biggest things in being out on your own and being an owner is that you have to have a really great support group. And I've been blessed to have had that in my home, like starting with my family. I was blessed to have that at Howard. A lot of the persons that I was in class with are indeed private practice owners themselves. I can take a 5 off the hat right now that are private practice owners and doing pretty well. So getting that support is good. I like that you two are teaming up and doing these podcasts and stuff like that. But I still believe that you bloom wherever you are, as long as you're passionate about it. So don't worry. Howard, something's going to happen with Howard in the future. Who knows? All right?
Right.
Maybe you'll be a professor there or something. Who knows?
There you go.
You're gonna have a story to tell.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, I appreciate that, and you're totally right that there's a silver lining to everything. So that's good.
Yeah. So don't beat yourself up about it.
I struggle if I was going to tell this story or not. If I said, what best way to start off part 2 than to tell you a story how I totally blew the Howard interview. So it's fine.
I'm just jealous that you said you got into every interview you've ever taken. That's a crazy feat.
Yeah.
Hey, some people are that lucky though.
Yeah, right.
And to be honest with you, it's actually kind of a curse because while you're sitting there trying to debate.
Sure. Sure. It's so hard to pick which school you want to get into, Daimir. Oh yeah.
It's tough, man, because now you have to make the actual decision of where am I going to go? I'm
about to kick you off this call, man. It's just going to be me and Dr. Monique.
Well, Daimir, it's so funny because when other people were applying for PT school, and people what other school are you applying to? And I was like, what are you talking about? What other school? I'm staying here because I was already at Howard. And I was like, I'm only applying to one. They're like, well, what if you don't get in? And I was like, excuse me? What do you mean, what if I don't get in? I'm going to get in. But it never crossed because I had friends who were applying to Georgetown, University of Maryland, and they were like, no, you need to, expand your horizon. Don't go to HBCU all your college life. And I'm like, I'm comfortable here.
Right.
It's nice. I like DC. I would get up in the morning, walk from Howard 5-6 miles to Georgetown and walk back and, go to class. So it was nice. It was a familiar place to me, and I stuck around. But
beautiful.
One school, and that was it. I was like, hit or miss, and I was like, so Jared, don't feel bad, okay? I wasn't going to be spending all that extra money for applications and stuff like that, but I do understand people want to increase the options of getting in. PT school is highly competitive. I know my cousin, Dr. Lauren Howie, she went to Howard for undergrad. She did apply to go to Howard for the PT program, but unfortunately didn't get in. So she ended up going to Lynchburg University in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So she's been practicing for the past 3 years, and I'm also encouraging her to try to step out on her own and start, at least start off part-time with doing her own thing as well.
Beautiful.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now to steer it away from Damir's humble brags about him getting into every school he applied to, I want to share something else with Dr. Monique. So we already view you as a role model, and definitely want to be where you're at, and appreciate everything you do for putting yourself out there, for coming on a podcast and talking to students. But also, one thing that I really admire and love about you is that your social media presence, you're consistent on there. You know how to work it, how to put yourself out there in the business sense, and also as a PT mentor role. And one of the biggest takeaways I get from looking at your content is that you're always a positive force. You're never bashing anything, or never bashing a patient, never bashing a certain branch of manual therapy. It's always a positive force for good. Is that your philosophy? Is that your goal for utilizing social media?
Yes. I was asked by Selena Horner. She's a private practice owner in Michigan. She's like, do you ever have like a bad day or a dull day, or because you're always so optimistic about everything? And it became a choice of mine a while ago that, you have a choice whether you're going to look at something a good way or look at it, the same half full, half empty class concept. So I try to be positive because I want to attract that positivity to me. I try not to bash people because we all have opinions, and we're passionate about our beliefs and stuff like that. So even though I may disagree with something you may say or do, I'm sure there is something for me to learn from listening to you or engaging in a conversation with you. And if you start off being negative and combative or criticizing, people get defensive, they lock up, and they don't want to open to you about anything. So you give them an opportunity to relax and, make yourself be approachable. And that's how you get to know people better, and they get to know you better as well. So that's just me. And maybe it's an island thing. I don't know.
Yeah. It's probably not.
So, you just try to be, cool and, relax and take everything as it goes. But I don't think it serves our profession well. Yeah, there are people, they're bad therapists. And I agree sometimes that you have to, call them out. But the way some people approach it on social media, I don't think it's appropriate. And because people see that and they're going to be like, oh man, these therapists are always fighting. They're never agreeing on anything, that sort of stuff. So I don't particularly like that. And a perfect example, like working with a group of surgeons, is that a surgeon may have messed up, but I never, ever heard any of his colleagues like bash him publicly or, in front of the group of employees or even at a talk or whatever, even though they may disagree.
Right.
Yeah.
But because they want the client to come to their business, to choose them. And I think that's what we should be aiming for. But there's a lot of scarcity mentality in our profession, in that we feel that we have to fight for every client and every client must come to us. But there are a lot of clients out there and there's more than enough for everybody. So that's just my thinking.
And I was going to ask, where do you think that the bashing and the vitriol and the back and forth come from? And I think you mentioned it, that it's a scarcity mindset. But, do you feel like it's just maybe an insecurity mindset as well, that, you know, maybe we just feel as if, you know, what we're, you know, saying and doing may not be, you know, evidence-based or up to snuff or whatever definition you want to use, and we have to sort of kind of justify it by going into these realms and going back and forth with people?
There are quite a few of us who have this sort of elitist personality.
Right.
And I think over the years, because we've been a profession, a surrogate profession or an adjunct profession, basically following doctor's orders or, you know, working in the shadows of a doctor. We feel by, you know, showing up ourselves, we'll get more notice or more, you know, bragging rights. And by showing up yourself, you want to bring others down or make them feel like, you know, I'm the expert, you don't know as much as I do, etc., etc.
Right.
That's not how I work. So I think one mentor had mentioned to me that it's not how somebody views you, it's your reaction to it, and your reaction to something tells a lot more about you and your character than what someone will say about you.
Wow.
So I always try to gauge like how I react to people. So if I see someone kind of go along that line, I'll be like, you know what, you know, good riddance. You do you, you know, I do me. I try not to engage in that because, you know, there's a saying, you know, if two fools are arguing, you never know which one is the fool.
Yes. You see that so much.
So I try not to engage in like stuff like that as often as I see some of it on social media.
Very well said.
And I think in doing that, we miss the bigger picture, which is, as I said, it's all about the consumers. And if you want to attract consumers, you have to be approachable. You have to have an open mind.
Absolutely.
And people watch what you do, and they watch what you say. So a lot of people are paying attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's out there in the open now. It's you know, you can Google anything you want for the most part about somebody.
Yeah, you can. Yes, you can. So, you definitely can. So you got to be careful. And you never know who's recording you.
Yeah.
Who's
like two students.
Yeah, like who's recording you or who's just screenshotting all your comments.
Oh, yeah.
Daimir, I think you're taking offense to that.
Yeah, no, it's funny.
Yep.
It's funny. Yeah, so just.
Oh yeah, it happens. So yes, you have to be careful about that too. But you know what? You can't be fearful of what other people think about you.
Right.
You know, just do you. Just do you.
Absolutely. So so kind of in closing and not necessarily, you know, we're not done yet, but I did want to ask, you know, what, you know, I asked, you know, what do you see in your practice, you know, in the future, but what's driving you like currently? What's driving you today? Is it, yeah. So just fire away with that question.
Well, you have to have the self-motivation first, okay? Mm-hmm. So you have to have that inner passion to want to do this and be successful at it. You know, not necessarily be one of the best at it, not be the best, but be one of the best, okay?
Right.
As I said, there's a lot of, you know, sunlight to go around. So my family drives me as well too, because when I first got here, I know I had the intention to hold on one second. Yes, I had the intention that I could not fail, meaning I had to come here, get my degree. The hope was to return back home, but I got offered a job and I've been here still. So, so it has been pretty good in that sense. But one thing my mom had always stressed to myself and my sisters was that no matter what, each generation that comes on has to be in a better position than the previous one. So she wanted us to start thinking about like generational wealth, and whatever our ceiling was should be the foundation for like my kids, which I don't have as yet, or my nieces and my nephew. So that's my aim. So it's not even just for my family members. I want to be an inspiration for, you know, the kids in the village that I grew up in, back in Tobago, to let them know that it is possible, that even though you're, you know, not surrounded by, you know, all the, the glitters, you can still make it out and get your dreams of, you know, being an entrepreneur, being on your own, and making it somewhere else than, you know, your home country. So
that got me fired up.
That's what I was saying.
I'm not even an immigrant and I'm fired up.
Yeah, same. Same.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. But the self-motivation has to be there. You have to have that passion, because on the days that you're tested, that's the thing that drives you the most. That self-motivation. So you have to have it.
Absolutely.
Those days when you can't find a decent bathroom driving across Maryland.
Yeah. Or when you have to deal with some caregivers that make you want to like really. So yeah. So you will have the trying days, as I said, but as long as you're passionate and you know you're doing things for the right reasons, you're gonna make it through.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Jerry, you got anything?
Man, I'm just feeling good. I feel very selfish now because I'm like, this is a podcast about Dr. Monique, but I just feel like I had a very personal mentoring, therapeutic session where I got some great quality advice in a very comforting tone. This has just been a big warm hug for me the whole time.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm always free to talk. I have to make a public apology to Dustin Jones, who has been trying for the past couple of years to get me on his podcast, and I keep
That's okay. We know Dustin. He'll be cool. He'll be cool with us.
So
he'll be all right.
I'm gonna make a public apology to him. And also to Dr. E, Dr. Erson, Regaloso, I do apologize. My schedule back then was pretty hectic, so I have a lot more time now, especially in evenings. So after I'm done with this podcast, I have to go do my summer of move walk.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
I hope you guys are involved in that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not on your team, Dr. Monique, so so good luck.
It's all right. May the best team win.
Yeah, we will. We will.
No, base camp right here is going to win. So base camp.
Man.
Yeah. You with Cree Master Kick Power, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm with that team. I don't know who came up with that name though.
Yeah, it was a mistake apparently.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a very interesting name.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, but I'm with that team. I was drafted on that team, so I didn't get to pick a team, but yeah, no regrets.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
But,
So I guess in closing, we'll just go ahead and pop the question that we ask all of our guests on here.
It's a very serious question.
I'm telling you, it's actually the most important question that we ask on the podcast, in my opinion.
It is? Okay.
It really is. So the question is, what is your favorite duck?
What is my favorite duck?
Yes, and it can be a real duck. We've had those. We had ducks that actually be eaten, so that's unique. I think we had duck sauce maybe once or twice, and then we actually had actual duck that you might see in the cartoons or whatever. So fire away.
Before I answer that question, what made you guys come up with duck legs?
Oh boy. Yeah, so there's this quote that's that me and the other co-host that's actually working right now and couldn't attend, Tyler, who says hi. We found that there's this quote that's like says you should be like a duck paddling in the water. On the surface, almost under the surface, your legs are paddling like hell, but up top you look cool and calm. So we're like, that's a cool quote. Okay. And we want to have a podcast where we're interviewing professionals and badass clinicians and entrepreneurs like yourself, and who seem cool and confident on social media and on the internet and in person. But we know behind the scenes you are working like hell, putting up all those miles on your Honda.
Yep, that's definitely true. There's a saying too, and you guys should remember this, right? Especially like with social media and everything like that, a lot of people get to see people's highlight reels. They don't see the behind the scenes struggle, the takeovers that they have to make to get that scene perfect. So focus on all the background struggles. So let people tell you, because their experience can save you a huge heartache or financial headache. Okay.
Thank you.
So, all right. So, in terms of duck, cartoons, I like Daffy Duck.
Yes.
And I do love to eat ducks. I'm wondering if there's I'm going home. Maybe I shouldn't broadcast that because I'm supposed to be surprising my parents. But I'm sure they won't be hearing this podcast anytime soon. But yes, I'll be going home in a couple weeks. I'm going to be surprising my mom for her 60th birthday, and she's also retired.
Yes.
My dad is going to be turning 68, so he doesn't know that I'm coming. My sisters know. And my sisters and I are planning a surprise dinner. But there's also going to be a surprise there for one of my youngest sister, who is an attorney. Her boyfriend is going to be proposing to her at that dinner, but she doesn't know that yet.
Yes.
But I love to eat duck. So it's actually one of my favorite meats. I think it's sweet, and it's not as hard as other poultry. So
there you go.
So I do like to, yeah.
That was the first time we had a guest actually talk about their love for eating duck.
Yeah,
actually, that's like
maybe that was not a good thing, right?
It's the best one, because we had we had Zach Long, Barbell Fyzio, on, and he said, well, he has a hobby of carving wooden ducks, so everybody's had a little unique thing.
Okay. Oh yeah, I love to eat it.
Yep.
Yeah,
awesome.
So I will eat it anytime.
I've never had duck. Maybe I should try it.
Oh no, you should try it.
Oh yeah. You should. Yeah, man. You're missing out.
You see, you just made me hungry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've had some duck nachos.
So maybe that's what I'm... Yeah. Duck nachos, you said?
Yeah, I had some duck nachos at this local like barbecue place here in town that I'm living in. I've had it every time I went there. They're like, don't you want or anything different? I said, no, I do not. No, I do not. Okay. It's just delicious.
Don't ask questions, just give me those nachos.
Just give me nachos, and it's more than enough.
So you guys are in separate programs in separate schools, right?
Yes.
I'm at University of St. Augustine in Austin, Texas.
Okay. Nice.
South College in Knoxville, Tennessee, but it's both our programs are hybrid. So, I live in Georgia, so.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So, you're a Southern boy.
Yes, I am the southeast Georgia, so the dirty South, I guess you can call it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Both of us.
Dirty South.
Yeah.
You're both from the South.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm from Louisiana originally.
Okay.
So,
Well, you know what they say, Southern hospitality. So, this was indeed great. I enjoyed it.
thank you. We definitely enjoyed you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Anytime. So,
Thank you so much, Dr. Monique.
you're quite welcome, guys. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Safe travels when you go back home.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So, I will enjoy it. I will take some pictures. I've already been charged to do some videos while I'm there. So, I will get that done. So, you guys will probably see some postings on social media as well.
Can't wait.
So
Can't wait. Yeah. And before we let you go, you speak of social media. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh yes, almost forgot.
On Twitter, at Fyzio for You, which is FYZIO 4U. On Facebook, Dr. Monique J Caruth, and I'm also on Instagram at Fyzio for You, FYZIO for You.
All right, awesome.
There we
Thank
go.
you.
All right.
Thank you again for coming on to the show.
You're quite welcome. All right. Have
See
an
ya.
awesome evening, guys.
Yes, you too.
Bye-bye.
Want to thank everybody for listening. We always appreciate all the reviews you guys give us, whether it be positive or negative. Don't forget to leave a review either through Facebook, where we're most active, or iTunes. Subscribe to it if you'd want to.
And also, if you're on Facebook, check out our new group, the Duck Legs Podcast After Show Party. You can search for that group on Facebook, or it's linked to our page. Basically, we're going to try to have some of you, the listeners, try to get on our show. We'll host you on the show. You can serve as a co-host or guest if you want. We'll try to make this some kind of networking opportunity and give more people a voice, especially give more students a voice, and possibly hook up some students with some guests that they'd like to interview, maybe in their niche or field that they'd like to learn more about. So feel free to join that. And also don't forget, you can go to ducklegs.weebly.com to check out our website. We're slowly building that up. Once you're there, we also have resources including Danny Matei's awesome Gym PT Blueprint course that you can check out. Full disclosure, we do get a kickback on that if you were to purchase. So if you're interested in that course and want to support the Duck Legs, feel free to use our affiliate link. And I took the course, and it's a badass course. And also on our website, if you're an Amazon shopper, you can also use our links, our Amazon affiliate links, to make purchases through Amazon, and we get a small percentage of anything you buy on Amazon as well. For Tyler and I and Daimir, kind of the founders of this whole podcast, if you want to say the word founders, we greatly appreciate anybody that takes the time out of their day to even listen to 30 seconds of us say words in microphones and trying to make each other laugh. So greatly appreciate you. Thank you.